Hey guys, welcome to another very interesting and very beautiful segment of web tutorials, Toss of the Side. Guys, today we are going to learn three very different things. First of all, how to set up a favicon or a shortcut icon, and secondly, how to set video as the background of a web page, and thirdly, the main topic of this segment, that is how to style the frosted glass effect in CSS. So guys, first of all, let's talk about the favicons. As like you can see over here that there is a small icon showing up in the title bar. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so firstly, don't get panic, just relax. There's nothing to stress about, because such a tiny thing like favicon should never worry you after you learn about it on this very channel. Okay, so relax and see how I do it. Okay, so guys, let's first talk about what are favicons. Okay, favicons are the icons, or basically the shortcut icons that you see beside this title on the title bar. Okay, for example, if you like go to the Google's web page, okay, you can see that beside this Google title there's an icon that is the favicon. Okay, and you can also like go to, let's say, codepin.io. You can see that directly over here that there's an icon over here. So these are the favicons of or the logos of the web pages basically. Okay, so we are going to learn how to put these in their exact place, that is the beside the title of the web page. Okay, you might be thinking how to do it, but guys, let me tell you that it requires only one line to put that thing over there, that is in the title bar. Okay, yep, you heard that right, that only one line of coding will put this logo or the favicon of the company or anything that the brand is over here in this title bar. Okay, so let's see how it is done. So guys, before starting the coding section, let's first discuss about the things or the resources that we are going to need to create this web page. So guys, first of all, we need this logo for setting up our favicon, that is in the PNG format, and we will also use this in our login box. And secondly guys, we need this video for setting up as the background of the web page. And thirdly, we are going to use this index.html document, that is the text document, for setting up our element of the web page. And for styling the elements, we will use this style.css text document. Okay, so now moving towards our coding section guys. So guys, as you can see that I've already set up the template of the web page, okay, of the HTML document. So for setting up the favicon guys, the best place to put the favicon is the underneath the title bar. Okay, so underneath the title bar we are going to put the favicon attribute, the line that the code, we are going to put this under the title bar. Okay, so for setting up the favicon, we need the link attribute first of all. Okay, so we'll just write link and press tab. Okay, so by default it will think that the link attribute is being used for the cascading style sheet, but it's not so. So we'll change the relationship to shortcut icon. And secondly, we'll need the type, that is what is the type of the element that we are going to use. So it's either image or it's either PNG. Okay, so yep. And lastly, we need to set the path. So we'll use the name, that is logo, and the extension of the image. Okay, so that is it. Just save it and go back to the browser. Yep, now as you can see, there's the icon or the favicon to be precise. Yeah, so now guys, let's learn about how to put this video as background. Okay, but before that, let's complete our HTML thing. Okay, so that we can make the most out of it, and also so that our video doesn't gets too lengthy. Okay, so let's discuss about what we are going to design today again. Okay, so we are done with this favicon thing. The next thing we need to style is the background as video, and thirdly this glass effect which we are going to make. And in this glass effect we are going to set the login box kind of thing, where the username input box will be there, the password box will be there, and lastly there will be a login button which when hovered or when clicked gives a different kind of style. And lastly we'll create this link that says not a member, and sign up option will be there. And this is just the copyright section of the web tutorials channel. Okay, so let's move on towards coding now. So guys, we are back to our coding section. So let's start the coding part, and for that we'll first of all use the div, and we'll set its class to be container. Okay, just press the tab button, and underneath that we'll use the video attribute so that we can set up our video as the background. So we'll just write video, and we want to start the video automatically, so for that we'll use the autoplay attribute, and we don't want to listen to its volume. Okay, so we'll set it as mute, and we also want the video to be never ending, so we'll set the attribute to be loop. Okay, secondly we want the path of the video, so for that just go back to the folder, and its name is video.mp4. okay, so we'll just write video.mp4. okay, just save it and go back to your web page. Yeah, here it is, the video. Okay, we'll style it later on. Moving on towards the box section, guys. So in that we need another div of, let's say, inner container. Okay, and for the input item we need another div, so we'll give the div a class of box. And for the logo in the web page, that is this logo, we'll have to give another div. Okay, so we'll just say div dot logo, so that it gives a class of logo. And underneath that we need the image, so we'll use the image img attribute of the HTML, and then we'll say logo dot png. Okay, and alternative to it will be logo. Okay, just save it and go back to the web page. So yeah, there's a video and there's the logo as well. Okay, secondly we want the input boxes, so for that we'll directly write this input attribute. Okay, so let's say input and press tab, and it's a text, so we'll just say the placeholder as username. Okay, and again we want the password as well, the password input box. So for that we'll remove this type and we'll say password. Okay, and we'll set the placeholder as, we'll set the placeholder also as password only. Okay, just save it and then go back to your web page and see that you've got a username input box and you've got the password input box. Okay, secondly guys, we want the sign up option. So but also before that we need the button of the login. Okay, the login button. Okay, so for that we'll use the button attribute, and we'll set its value to be login. Save it and go back to your web page, and there's a button whose value is login. Okay, and after that what we want is the sign up option. So for that we'll use the paragraph attribute, and then we'll write not a member yet, just give it a question mark. And for giving the sign up a different kind of style, we'll use the span attribute. So for that we'll write span and we'll write sign up. Okay, so basically we are done. Now the last part here is the copyright section. Okay, so we'll just give it a class of copy, and underneath that we'll use the copy sign, and we'll write web tutorials. Okay, just save it, and yeah, here it is. So this is it in the HTML section, guys. Let's move on to the styling part of our web page. So just as you can see, guys, I've already set the template of the CSS file as well, and I have imported two let's wrap it up first. Yeah, I have imported two font styles, and first is the Montserrat and the second is the Poppins via the Google font feature. Okay, and secondly I have set the body attribute as well. I have set the padding to be 0 and the margin to be 0, and the font family I have set it to Montserrat. Guys, this can be done in the universal coding as well, but you do it in the universal coding or you do it in the body part, it doesn't matter much unless you are making a big website or something. Okay, so let's move on to the styling of the container. Okay, so as it is a class, we'll use the dot, and then we'll write container, open the curly braces and close the curly braces, and between that we'll set its position to be relative so that we can set the inner container to be absolute. Okay, and the height we want is the 100 viewing height. Okay, and any overflow we want it to be hidden, because the video we are having is going out of the web page. So we'll to remove the scrolling area, we'll just say overflow hidden. Okay, so for that it's done, the container part is done. And now, guys, let's style the video. So as it is an ID, we'll use the hash part and we'll write video, open and close curly braces, and in between that we'll set its position to be fixed. Okay, and we want right to be 0. We don't want anything from the right, we don't want anything from the bottom as well. Okay, and lastly we want its minimum height to be 100% and minimum width also to be 100%. And lastly we want to set its alignment to center. So let's say align items center. Just save it and refresh. Yeah, here is the video as the background. So we are done with this video part, and now let's style this box over here. Okay, so for that let's get back to our code editor, and yep, so for that let's style the inner container first. So for that let's say inner container. Okay, and underneath that we want its width to be, let's say, 400 pixel, and height to be, let's say, 480 pixel. Okay, secondly I want to style the background as inherit because I don't want to give it any color. so it will automatically take some, and I want to set its position to be absolute so that I keep it where I want. Okay, yeah. And I want to set it in the middle of the web page. Okay, so for that I'll use the top and then calculate as 50 viewing height minus 250 pixels. Okay, and secondly I want to set its left also to be calculate calculate, let's say 50 viewing width. Okay, that will set up the width, and let's say 200 pixels. Okay, so what it will do is it will set the box in the center of the web page. Just save it, and if you can just refresh it, and yeah, the we can't scroll it because the container is at 200 viewing height. So you can see this logo over here. We'll style it later on, but first let's style our inner container. Okay, so we don't want any overflow, so we'll set the overflow as hidden. Yeah, and we want a border radius just like this. Let me show you. We want a border radius over here of, let's say, 30 pixel, so we'll set as border radius 30 pixel. Okay, and lastly we want a bit of transition in it, so that when we hover over it, the shadow, like the shadow takes the effect of the shadow takes place after some seconds. Okay, so we'll say all 0.5 second and with ease. Okay, and to set its color as to make it look as the frosted glass, we'll have to use the pseudo element of inner container, that goes like this. In a container we'll use the before or after element, whatever you want. Okay, we'll set its width to be the same, 400 pixel. Just want it to be absolutely behind the inner container. Okay, so we'll set its height also to 480 pixel. Okay, and the content so that it's alive now, and we want its position to be absolute. Obviously we need that. Okay, and top to be 0, left to be 0, right to be 0, and bottom also to be 0. Yeah, now the next thing we want is the background. Okay, background also to inherit, and now the main thing comes is the box shadow. So for that we'll use the box shadow attribute of CSS, and we'll set it to inset, so it will take the color from the background of the container. Okay, so for that we'll use the 0 0 0 and let's say 400 pixel. Okay, and we'll set the color, so for that we'll use the RGBA property, and we'll set it as 255, and lastly we'll set its opacity to 0.8. Okay, and we'll just close it. So finally guys, for giving it the blur effect or the frosted glass effect, we'll use the filter property, and we'll set blur as 10 pixels. Okay, just save it, and now you'll be able to see this glass over here. Okay, so let's move on to style this logo and the input items. Okay, so for that just go back to the text editor and move on to styling our box first. Okay, so let's say box, and we want to set its position to be absolute. Okay, secondly, I want its height to be 100%, its width also to be 100%. Okay, I want its color to be white, so for that I'll use the hex codes, and I want its background to be some RGB property, so we'll use 0, 0, 0, and lastly we'll use 0.13. yeah, just close it, and then we want this padding part so that it stays a little bit away from the corners of the inner container. Okay, close it, and I also need a transition for it, that is all 0.6 second and with ease. Okay, so moving on towards the logo now. So for that we'll use the dot logo because it's also a class, sorry, and underneath that we'll use the image, we'll style the image. Okay, so for that we'll set its width to be, let's say, 150 pixel. Okay, and its height also to, let's say, 100 pixel. Let's close it, refresh it, and yep, now it's like it has shrunken and we can see all the other elements of the container. Okay, so and we want to set it in the middle of the box, so for that we'll give it some margin. So we want to set the margin of top and bottom to, let's say, 20 pixel, and the margin to right and left to, let's say, 130 pixel. Just save it, and yeah, it's exactly in the middle of the container. Okay, so now moving towards the input section. So for that, it's in the box div, and underneath that the input attribute. Okay, so we want to display it as block. Okay, and secondly we want its width to be, let's say, 300 pixel, and we want to set its margin, so the distance between the inputs will be, let's say, 20 pixel and auto. Okay, and lastly we want is the padding to be 15 pixels so that it makes some space inside the box, input box. Okay, and lastly the font family we want to use is the Poppins. Oops, yeah, Poppins, and that too in sans serif. Yeah, just close it and refresh it. So as you can see, the input box has been styled a bit, not much but a bit. Okay, so now we want the font size. Okay, so for that we'll set it to be, let's say, 18 pixel, so it's a little bit bigger, and the background, so we'll set the RGB values to, let's say, 0,0,0.2, and we'll close it, and we want some border radius for the input box, so let's say 10 pixel, and after that let's set its color to be let's say hash FFF000. So we'll set it to a yellow color, and also text align to center. Okay, let's refresh it now. Okay, I guess the color section won't work because we'll style it in the placeholder section. Okay, so it won't work, guys. Just remove this. Okay, save it, and yeah, it just remains the same. Okay, so let's style the placeholder first. Dot box, input placeholder. Okay, so we'll use the color as yellow, so for that we'll use the hex codes. We'll close it, and what we want is some transition, guys. Okay, let me show you the transition I've made earlier. So when we focus on it, it shifts to the left side. Okay, and when we unfocus it, so it comes back. Okay, so we want this kind of transition, so for that we'll use the transition property. Okay, we'll transition all and set its time to be, let's say, 0.8 second, and I want to set its animation to be ease. Okay, secondly, I want the font size to be 18 pixel. I guess that I've done it already, and text line to be center. Yeah, that I've done, so I don't need this. Yep, so as you can see now, the username and the password has been turned to yellow, and we'll set its animation later on. Okay, so next thing we want is the I want to remove these outlines first. Okay, so for that, let's say we'll remove the outlines for input part and the button part as well. So let's say box input, first of all the focus. Okay, I don't want this. Okay, yeah, and then we want the box input and active. Okay, again a comma, and dot box button active, comma, dot box. And actually we don't want the input over here, because yeah, it will just work with the button. Okay, and focus. So for that, what we need is we want to set its outline to be none. Okay, just save it, and now we won't see any kind of outlines. Okay, and one last thing, that is dot box input, comma, and dot box, oops, box button, comma. Okay, let's save it, and now if you see, there's no outline present. Okay, so let's get back to the text editor and style our button now. Okay, so for that we'll use the box and then the button, that is the parent and child relation that we are following right now. So for that we want to set the color of the button as the greenish one, so we'll use the background, we'll set it as to ECC71. Okay, and next we want it's like, what do we want is color, okay, to be white, and the padding to be 10 pixel, and font size also, what say, let's 20 pixel of the font size, and we want its width to be, let's say, 330 pixel, and I want to set its margin so that it like makes some space, so 20 pixel for top and bottom, and also auto for centering it. And next I want to display it as block. Okay, and when we hover over it, I want to set its cursor as pointer. Okay, and next thing I want is to give it a bit of animation so that when we hover over it, its scale changes, it its size changes. So for that we'll use the transition property. Okay, and I'll say all 0.6 second and ease. Okay, secondly I want to like I guess I don't need to set it to uppercase, as it is already in the uppercase. So yeah, just leave it like that, and that's it in the button section. Just save it and refresh it. So yeah, as you can see, the color has been changed to the greenish one, and it's already in the uppercase format. So let's style the hovering part of the button. Okay, so for that we'll use the dot box, and after that we'll use button, and we'll use the hover class. Okay, so just open and curly braces, and first of all we'll use the border radius. Okay, and we'll set it to 30 pixel, and after that what we need is we need to set its width to be, let's say, 50%, half of what it is right now. Okay, and after that I want to set its background color. So when we change the when we hover over the button, I want to set its background to the pinkish color. So we'll use the hex codes as well, A8072. so this will bring the pink color. Okay, as you can see, this very beautiful pink color. And after that I want to set its scale, so that when we hover over it, it gets bigger. Okay, so scale to 1.2 of its original size. So let's say it's 1 right now, so it will get multiplied by 1.2. Okay, so automatically it will become the 1.2 size of its original size. Okay, and also I want to uplift it a little bit, so we'll say transform and translate y, okay, to, let's say, -5 pixel. Okay, now let's save it and see what we have done. Yeah, when we hover over it, it just shifts to the upper side, that is minus of the y-axis. Okay, so now let's style the let's say move on towards the what happens when we click over the button. Okay, so for that we'll use box and again button, and this time we'll use the active class of the button. Okay, so for that now we'll set its background back to the green color. So here it is. And secondly we'll transform and translate the y-axis downwards a little bit. So for that we'll use the positive values and save it, and when we click over it, it turns to green and slides down a little bit. So yeah, just come back to where we were. And now let's style the paragraph section, that is the not a member yet section. Okay, so for that we'll write box p, font size, let's say 14 pixel. Okay, and text align. Okay, text align, oops, my bad guys, center. Okay, and this will do, I guess. Lastly, the span part. Okay, so the box and span class. Okay, and we'll also give it a font size of 14 pixel, and we'll set its color to be a little darker, so let's say 666, and refresh it now, and as you can see, it has the sign up And one more thing guys, I want to set its cursor to be as pointer. Okay, so let's say yeah. Okay, so that is it. And one more thing for the span class, that when we hover over it, it changes color to the yellow color. Okay, so we'll use the hover class over here. Hover, the color should change to the yellow. Okay, let's say yeah, there it is. Let's save it, refresh it, and yeah, it's working. Now lastly, we want to style the copyright section. Okay, so for that what we need to do is use the copy class. So let's say copy, and we want its alignment to be at the center, so we'll write text align and we'll center it. Secondly, we'll set its color to be #888. Okay, a bit darker, sorry, a bit lighter version of the black color, let's say 666. Okay, so the sign up and the copyright section remains the same color. Okay, and one thing we want is that we don't want anyone to select it. Okay, I want it to be prohibited from selecting, so we'll set it to zero select none. Okay, just refresh it, and you can't select this part of text. Okay, last part we want to style guys is the shadow that should come over here when we hover over this box. Okay, and this input section guys. Okay, so the placeholder and the box shadow when we hover over it. Okay, so let's style the placeholder first. So let's say it was a placeholder, yeah, dot box, and after that the input, we'll set its focus class, and after that what we need to style is the placeholder. Okay, and inside that we need to transform and then translate the x-axis to, let's say, -250 pixel. That is it. And now when we focus over it, it will shift automatically to the left side. Okay, now the last part of our this section guys. So for that we'll use the inner container. So come a bit upwards, and we need to set its shadow part. Okay, so for that inner container class. Okay, and what we need to do here is inner container hover. Okay, so when we hover over it, the box shadow changes. Okay, box shadow, let's say 10 pixel from the top, 5 pixel from the left, 50 pixel from the bottom, and 5 pixel from the right. Okay, and we want to set its RGB value to, let's say, 000 and 0.5. Okay, we just save it, and that is it. When we hover over it, it gives us a nice cool box shadow effect, and that is it, I guess. So yep, you can input anything you want. Okay, and this, and also you can just click and it will give you some another effect. So I guess you guys like this video, and I hope you understood every bit of it, whatever I explained to you guys. And so yep, this is it in this section guys. Hope you would click on the like button, and guys also don't forget to subscribe my channel so that I keep bringing you such contents, such knowledgeable contents. So yep, that is it. Thank you and goodbye. you.